leaning into that and really owning it, that's also where I believe a lot of confidence comes from because you're living into who you're supposed to be versus being a secondary version of what you think people want you to be.
I'll have what she's having.
Welcome to another edition of
She talks confidence.
Podcast.
Welcome back. This is the She Talks Confidence podcast. It's Tony as usual. And today, a very special and very informative and amazing guest. I'd like to introduce Elle Petrillo. Elle, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm so glad we finally got this figured out.
Yes.
And I've actually known Elle more on a distance level for about 7 years, I think, give or take, or almost 7 years, because I signed up for Brand Builders Group, which is a personal branding company, and she is a specialist in personal branding. So what I'd like to do initially, Elle, if that's okay with you, I'd like to do a quick intro and throw some of your CV out there just to give you some cred initially, and then go into a little bit of your journey, and
Yeah,
then go into your specialty and how you help with personal branding, and we'll focus on women if that's okay.
absolutely.
Elle is an acclaimed sales and personal branding expert who has committed her career to mastering both digital and offline sales. She's worked with a ton of people, scaling up to 8-figure companies. Elle's exceptional track record includes contributing to launches of best-selling books, assisting clients in reaching 1 million followers, and multiplying their revenue by 5 times or even more. So basically, we're talking to a real expert here, and especially when it comes to personal branding. So the first thing I'd like to tee things off with in our chat is, what is personal branding? And do you find it different in approach between men and women?
When we talk about personal branding, we're not talking about like colors and logos and websites and social media. Like everyone instantly goes to social media for personal branding.
Hmm.
And one of the things I always hear is, I don't want to be famous. And I'm just like, good, because you're probably not going to
Yeah,
be. So we don't
right.
have to worry about
Hate to,
it.
but yeah.
When we define personal branding at Brand Builders Group, we define it as the digitization of your reputation. So, whether you like it or not, you already have a personal brand because it's your reputation. It's what people think of when they think of you. And then, how do you actually leverage the online world for more people to know about you and your results and what you do? Now, when it comes to men versus women, what I actually think is really interesting is this is probably one of the only areas that I feel like the playing field is pretty even in terms of people struggling with insecurity and self doubt. Where we always hear in the corporate world, men will go after any job and apply for a job, even if they meet like 40% of the requirements or 20%, right? Like they're just
Hmm.
like, I'm going for it. Women, studies show, have to meet 90%, if not more, of the requirements of a job before they feel confident to
Yeah,
apply for it.
exactly.
And so in the corporate world, like men have this inflated confidence that they can do anything and all the jobs, like they're capable of all of it and whatever it might be. And it's funny because I've seen men get jobs like that
Oh
and
yeah.
then they don't work out well because they were not qualified for the
Hmm.
position. But then meanwhile, women come in and they usually do really well because they are qualified. However, when I work with our clients, men and women, and I work with like our 7, 8-figure clients all the time in private sessions, and it's the same thing. Do you really think this will work? Do you think this is really good? Do you think this is valuable? Do you think this will help people? Do you think this is right? Like it's the same questions and the same doubt, regardless of sex. And I find that really interesting. I believe it's because people are sharing themselves, right?
100%. And right, that's the difference. That's the difference between applying for a job and having, and it's not confidence, it's arrogance more likely, or it's just this bravado or this, or actually you could call it really stupidity in terms of understanding really the concept of everything and just throwing your stuff out there. Yeah, there's so much research that backs that up. But women, it's the overthinking and the rumination. But then when it comes down to working on it and developing it, then you get down into the real, stripping away all of that and getting down to the real person and the real vulnerabilities that they're dealing with. It is a level playing field in regards to them starting up and dealing with imposter syndrome or dealing with self doubt and developing it. From that standpoint, when you start working with women initially, do you see patterns or trends with them in terms of there's a big barrier at the beginning to get over and then they flow through things? Or do you see different scenarios with different women in terms of developing this? Because really, what you're talking about, because you just talked about brand not being like colors and stuff, you're
Mhm.
talking about identity and identity in context, and identity in the context of business or in the workforce or at home or whatever the case may be. What do you see as the big obstacles initially when they come to sit in front of you?
The biggest thing that people struggle with is clarity of what do I want to be known for? What problem am I solving? Who is it that I'm really serving? Is this really what I'm passionate about? Is this the business model that best aligns with like how I want to build my life? Is this going to make me money? Like it's clarity on all the foundation of things. And then I would say there comes a part where after you have the clarity and you start creating content, you have to put content out into the world. And what I've seen in my own experience personally is when you don't feel good about how you look, you don't want to create content. And so I have found for myself, like it's what holds you back sometimes is your own health and your own confidence. And it's going,
Mhm.
okay, if you don't like the way you look, then you have the ability to do something about that. And it will only pay off and have a lot of benefits to that, right? I've lost over 30 pounds in the last 2 years. And when people look at me, they'd be like, oh, you're fine. You don't really lose weight. But guess what? I felt like I needed to.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
wanted to. I didn't feel good about the way that photos looked and videos looked when I was doing it. And now I'm like, I'm much more willing to go do a photo shoot than I used to be. I'm much more willing to create content than I used to be because I feel good about myself. And so not only do I feel good health wise, meaning I have more energy and I'm sleeping but it's also like that vanity side of I like the way I look in clothes and I like the way I look on camera. And
Mhm.
that makes a difference in how you show up. And
Huge.
especially for women.
Yeah, huge. So how does it feel to be a therapist?
That's what I do a
Essentially
lot.
essentially, that's what you're doing. It's really somebody sitting down in front of you and saying, "I want to embrace who I am and what my value is in the universe, and I
Mhm.
wanna figure that out, and I wanna pave that road, and then I need that fuel to begin that journey," and the fuel is the confidence, especially if they don't have it or they be dealing with issues like that.
Yeah. And the belief that what you have to share matters
Yeah.
and that your voice matters and that you have the ability to make an impact on someone else. And that's why who you serve is so important. We always say at BBG is that your best position to serve the person you once were.
Mhm.
And so the thing is, you don't have to be the complete expert or guru. You just have to be a few steps ahead. And you can share your experience and you can share your insights, and that will truly help someone else because they're not there yet. They're going through what you once went through.
I remember somebody in BBG talking about the radio station analogy with that everybody has their particular voice. And
Mhm.
if you look online, there's nothing out there that's popular that like nobody's talking about. You'll never find a pure niche, like the Red Sea, Blue Sea. You'll never find a pure one, but it's about you being as authentic as you can in your space. That's your FM station, your 99.6 or whatever. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that don't tune into your station because they don't like country, or they don't like rock, or they don't like
Mhm.
alternative, but
Yep.
there will be some that do. And you have to be consistent with that, right? You have to be authentic within that. And I know from working with you guys 7 years ago and going forward, and this also creates a foundation for consistency as well, to
Mhm.
where you can continue to stay in your authentic voice. And it's something that will resonate, but you have to really trust that you've got to stay in it and it really has value, like you said.
I think we all just need to feel a little validation. And sometimes that's why it's great to have a coach and a strategist who's, no, this is good. Or, you know what? Like I had a conversation with someone recently where they were doing their keynote and I said, it's good. Is it great? No. Do I think your frameworks could be stronger? Yes. Do I think you have more in you than what like this content is? Yes. Did they receive that extremely well? No. That's
What a
okay.
surprise. Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah.
okay. Not all of us are ready. And I get it, right? It's so personal. We pour so much time and energy and like love into creating something that we're proud of. And then to have someone say, I think you could be better. I think it could be better, right? That's defeating. But that's why I always encourage people, like, you can either be surrounded by people that tell you you're really good at what you do. And that is awesome. And we need encouragers in our life. But then I also believe you need people who call you to a higher level and who are going to challenge you, who's going to say, no, you can do better. Because if you don't have those people around you, it's like you get stuck in this status quo world. And I'm going, that doesn't build confidence either. What I think builds confidence in people is when you go, can I actually do it? Could I make this? Could this be awesome? And then go do it. And then it works. And maybe you fail a couple times, but you keep going at it. And then you finally succeed. And that was awesome. I rocked it. I killed it. I know that was freaking fire. That's what helps build confidence, not being surrounded by people telling you, like, you're doing great, honey. Like, I have hype friends too. And you know
Right.
what to
Isn't
go
that
to.
yeah, isn't that your mom and dad's job really to encourage you and to get your participatory? But that makes a huge sense because you can stay in the bubble that you're in, but the reason why you are reaching out to somebody to help you is because you don't want to stay in the bubble and you
Hmm.
want to get out of it and you want to expand. But then it's almost contradicting situations to where they want to, but then they're a little sensitive in regards to their confidence or their self-esteem. They're challenged on it. They put themselves out, right? It's a vulnerability thing when it
Yeah.
comes to that. So they're vulnerable with you. They decide to make the jump and they're vulnerable just making the jump. Then they have to put themselves out there to put
Hmm.
something on. This is me and this is the best I can do. Then you guys come in and say, this is good, but it's not great. They really have to dig deep and have some really strong support because that hits them at their weakest spot, which is that vulnerable spot. How do you massage the person that you know has more in them out of that protective, smaller bubble into that open, wide open space that can be very scary?
Brene Brown says this is clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And I don't massage really anything. That's just not my personality. And there's some people that they do a great job. I stopped trying to figure out how to do that. I just have accepted that is not me. But what is me is someone who, if I think you can do better, I'm going to call it out and I'm going to encourage you while we do it and I'm going to help you do it. And so I think that's the important part too is if you have someone out there who is trying to call you higher, like making sure there's trust and they're coming from a place of they want to see you win
Hmm.
and they want to see you kill it. And it's like, how you know someone wants to do it is because they will be really clear and specific with you of going, it's not all your content sucks. It's this one thing I think we can make better. Yeah,
Right.
go.
The other good thing about this particular scenario and why I advocate so much for somebody getting into groups and expanding in this particular fashion is because it's like a built in support group along with it, because
Mhm.
everybody's going along the journey as well. And they understand your pain and they understand the level of vulnerability and
Yeah,
fear
yeah.
that can come up with that.
One of the things too, I think the women that listen to this probably are leaders in their communities, in their workplace, in their lives. And Julie Solomon said this recently, and I'm pretty sure she came up with it, is you can't lead if you're playing small.
Hmm.
And regardless of what y'all do or people listening do every day, I just come from a place of I want to play bigger and I want to do more and not do more being busy. It's like more of going, what lights me up? What am I passionate on? What do I feel like my calling is on this earth that God put me here for? And so when you start leaning into that and really owning it, that's also where I believe a lot of confidence comes from because you're living into who you're supposed to be versus being a secondary version of what you think people want you to be.
So that's the shift. The
Hmm.
inward versus the outward, the exterior validation versus the inward value and the
Hmm.
acceptance. Like I said, true confidence is acceptance of who you are, warts and all. It's just you and your particular unique voice. That's the essence of what confidence is. You talked earlier about really teaching what you know, and you've mentioned it a few times in regards to your own personal journey. And I always ask because I have strong, powerful women on this show
Hmm.
that help people that have elevated themselves where they have gone through a lot of stuff
Yeah.
and they've gotten to the point where they can see because you can't help somebody unless you're at that 30,000 foot level and you can see all the push and pull and the components that are working for and against somebody else. It's the same thing as a therapist. What was it in your journey that guided you towards this particular genre, this particular career in helping people with this?
It's funny because I never thought this was going to be where my path is. Back in 2018, myself, our CEO, AJ, and our head of our publishing division, Isla, all three of us were fired on the same day from a company that we were all with for over a decade.
Mhm.
And then Rory resigned. And then there was this whole thing that happened with someone else. And they were like, this should be your new business. And Rory and AJ called Isla and I were like, do you want to start a new company? You're like, yeah, what are we doing? So like branding. I'm like, what does that mean? So my entire career has been in sales. I did sales training, consulting, coaching. I sold door to door. I sold C suite. I sold transactional, consultative. Like I love sales. And then what I've learned is through that whole time, I was helping Rory with his keynote speaking and I was selling him as a speaker. I was doing speaking. I had done over 1,000 free presentations to
Mm.
sell at the end of them. I helped with his book launch. I had helped with his podcast and guests. And it's like I was around the world of branding. I booked his TED Talk. I didn't even know what a TED Talk was, right? This whole time I was doing stuff in branding and had no idea that it's branding. What I was able to do is that I was
Mhm.
able to transfer my skills into this and really focus on helping our clients who need to learn how do they monetize their personal brand. And so, where I really live in my expertise with clients is how do you actually make money with
Right.
this? Like, how do you do sales calls? How do you pitch yourself? How do you close? How do you structure a sales system that can scale over time? How do you hire and onboard salespeople? All of the things when it comes to selling and scaling a company is what I had done for over a decade, and that was transferable to this.
But that's the ultimate want for most people is
Mhm.
to do something that they're passionate about, do something that for themselves and not making money for anybody else in particular. Figuring out a way to do that,
Yeah,
right?
and how
I
to
mean,
structure
that's
their offer in a way
Mhm.
that makes sense. A lot of people do these offers and you look at them and you go, "Oh, yeah, that's not selling. Here's why." And then you have
Right.
to adjust it. But don't believe I would have been as good at that if I didn't have all these years of working in, I would say, over 20 different industries with all different types of people, helping them restructure their companies and their sales teams. Like, I would have never been able to do that today if I didn't have all of that before.
And I'm assuming that personal branding is just more than selling yourself. What's the difference between just selling something that you've made or a small mini course or trying to market yourself as a keynote? What's the difference between that and really having a personal brand?
It's trust. And so selling is a transference of trust. So if someone doesn't know you exist, they can't actually do business with you. So
Mhm.
your personal brand, the more you build that, the more people know about you. And then the second thing is once they know who you are, their question is, do I like this person and do I trust them? And that is the same no matter what. If you're selling a product or if you're selling yourself, if you're speaking, whatever it might be, they go, do I like them and do I trust them? And the way they decide if they like and trust you is what they see online and what other people say about you before they ever meet you.
Mhm.
This is why it is important if you are in commission based sales or if you own a business or if you are in a service industry where you need patience and more people coming in. This is why it matters. We all work through referrals and testimonials and what we see online. And so if you're trying to grow a business or grow revenue or make more money and you do not have a presence, then you are losing a huge opportunity to drive revenue for yourself.
Is it as important for women that don't have a company to have a personal brand?
Yeah, I kick myself left and right that I didn't go down this path earlier for myself. I think even at our former company where personal branding wasn't really a thing outside
Mhm.
of what Rory and AJ were doing with themselves, that it would have helped me get in the door a lot easier if I had a personal brand. Even today where I'm going, gosh, I probably could have a much bigger, like I'm not complaining about my income at all, but it could probably be a lot more if I was also driving more leads because of my personal brand, which is my focus now. I want people
Hmm.
to know about Brand Builders Group. We do incredible work, but at the same time, it's going, well, people don't care what I have to say as much as they have to care what they care about someone with a stronger personal brand, like our co-founder Rory does, right? He
Hmm.
says something, people are like, wait, what? I say something, they're like, let me do a little bit more research.
Hmm.
It just
Hmm.
gives you more authority in the space that you want to own.
What are you doing to increase your personal brand?
What's funny is I've been through a few different renditions of this. And like I mentioned, clarity is the most important thing because you move faster when you have clarity. I thought I had clarity and I was going all in on this brand, be irreplaceable. And then I was like, that's not clear. And then I was going all in on sell like a pro. And then I'm like, our clients don't want to learn how to sell. They want to make money, they want revenue, but they don't want to learn how to sell. And
Oh
so
yeah.
now I hired a new coach because it's like the cobbler's kids have no shoes, right? It's
Oh
so easy
yes.
to do for others than
Yep.
do for yourself, and the time you take to do it for others versus the time you take to do it for yourself.
Yep.
And so I personally hired a new coach who's in a very similar space. I just needed a different perspective. And so now I am revamping all of my messaging, revamping my website. I'm doing more podcasts. I'm putting out content every day, which I have never done. And not my greatest, funnest skill set thing to do or spend my time doing. And my plan is to launch a podcast this year.
I like to end it with. If if a woman is out there and she's not even looking to start her own company, let's just get personal with this.
Mhm.
Creating a personal brand to just exist in life and to create relationships or to enhance relationships, to be a better friend, a better wife, girlfriend, mom, whatever the case may be. Do you tips that maybe that you would throw out there for somebody just to start from the beginning to think about this?
I would say, even if you work in corporation or if you're a teacher or anything, personal branding matters to you because if you want to grow your career, the people who I know, clients of ours who work for big corporations who get raises because of their personal brand. I know
Mhm.
people who have gotten jobs because of their personal brand. And so it actually only makes sense in this world because it's giving yourself a platform to share who you are and what you believe in and what you value, and to see who aligns with you and who doesn't. And so I just think it puts your future in, like, you in control of your future in a way that we haven't been able to before. It will allow you to pivot in ways that you haven't been able to pivot before, just because you now have an audience and a trusted group of people that want to hear what you have to say. So when it comes to tips, if you're going, I've never thought about that, but that makes sense, have a call with our team. We do free calls. There, some of them are group calls, some of them are one on one. But if you go to freebrandcall.com/Elle, have a call with our team and just learn about what this could look like for you. Either way, there's no obligation. It's a very easy call, very fun call. So I would just encourage you to do that. If you're going, okay, I'm not really sure still about this personal brand thing, you can check out what's called the Influential Personal Brand Summit, of going, how did people actually start their brands?
Hmm.
So I'll give you a link to that too, but it's influentialpersonalbrandsummit.com/Elle as well. I will send that link for the show notes. But the biggest tip that I would say is, it's first thing is going, how do I become more well known? And when you're more well known, you get invitations to things you haven't been invited to before. You get put in rooms that you haven't been in before that will only help and leverage you. Your name comes up in conversations where they weren't before, in a good way, not where people are talking smack, but they're actually speaking highly of you, right? These are all things you become known. But then there's this shift of, once people start experiencing you more, and they start seeing the results that you can provide and that you can help with, that's where you become needed. And that's where they're going, oh, you need someone to run this department. You need to talk to her. Hey, you have an opening for this. You need to talk to this person. Hey, you have an idea and you need to talk to this person. And you want to become the person that someone needs, not just knows. And that's part of this journey with your personal brand. But how you do that, again, is you start by, people know who you are, and then you deliver on what you do best, and then you become really needed. So I would just say, you deserve it to yourself. Like, to give yourself complete control of your future, to give yourself a platform to share your heart, your beliefs, your values, and help as many people and make an impact as possible.
I know a lot of women look at it like I don't even know who I am initially, but I always say you're overthinking the room as usual and just start with who you are and what you like and what you enjoy. And especially, how do you feel you can help others? And if you can
Mhm.
start that way, then go through that process, it is absolutely brilliant. And I went through BBG and it was fantastic. And I got so much out of it and developed way further than I was. I got out of that small bubble and got
Yeah.
into a bigger bubble. So, Elle, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Is there anything out there for your new revamped?
I would just say people can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm putting out a bunch of content right now is Elle Petrillo. Instagram is Elle_Petrillo. So if you want a little bit more behind the scenes of my life, Instagram's the way to do it. If you just want great content, go ahead and go to LinkedIn.
Thank you, Elle. I really appreciate it. And again, for me, it is TonyDufresne.com or theconfidencedoc.com. You can go there like you have been for 15 years now. And if you have any comments or questions, or you want to talk to me about anything, you can always go to tonyattheconfidencedoc.com. And I've got stuff on the website as well. Thanks again. And thank you to Elle. And I will talk to you